The Roman army stands among history's most effective and meticulously organized fighting forces. One of their most intriguing tactical choices, directly contrasting with many contemporary enemies, was their deliberate use of battlefield silence rather than intimidating war cries. In this exploration, we'll examine how silence and disciplined communication proved essential to Roman military success, and how these approaches evolved throughout imperial history. When envisioning the Roman army, we picture an imposing force, hundreds of thousands of soldiers marching in perfect formation, confronting enemies with unshakable discipline. This discipline formed the cornerstone of Roman military strategy, enabling complex battlefield maneuvers and remarkable adaptability amid changing conditions. Perhaps their most distinctive characteristic was organizational excellence. Each soldier understood his precise role and followed commands without hesitation, contributing to an army that could function as a single, unified body, even under immense pressure. Unlike many ancient contemporaries who employed war cries, battle chants, and martial music to intimidate opponents, Romans generally preferred operating in controlled silence. This was not an accidental behavior but a deliberate strategic decision, deeply rooted in their understanding of order and coordination. Silence enabled legionaries to maintain absolute concentration and preserve clear communication channels. Every soldier was trained to respond instantly to visual or auditory cues rather than emotional impulses, allowing them to execute complex tactical movements with precision even in the chaos of battle. Rather than shouting orders across noisy battlefields, Roman commanders utilized visual signals, particularly the aquila, the eagle standard, which served as the legion's most sacred symbol. The sight of the eagle standard acted as a focal point for alignment and morale, enabling disciplined coordination across large units. This method prevented confusion during critical engagements and eliminated tactical vulnerabilities that could arise from disorganization or misheard commands. Beyond visual signaling, specialized musical instruments played a crucial role in battlefield communication. The tuba, a straight bronze trumpet, and the cornu, a curved trumpet, produced distinctive tones capable of cutting through the tumult of combat. Each sound pattern corresponded to specific commands, such as advancing, retreating, or reforming ranks. This system ensured that soldiers received clear and unmistakable instructions even when visual cues were obscured by dust, smoke, or distance. Through such innovations, the Roman army mastered both silent coordination and controlled sound as instruments of command, ensuring precise execution of orders under any circumstance. The famous Testudo, or tortoise formation, exemplifies why silence proved so tactically advantageous. This defensive formation protected soldiers from projectiles by overlapping shields on all sides and overhead, creating an almost impenetrable shell of iron and wood. For this maneuver to succeed, every movement had to be perfectly synchronized. Even a brief lapse in communication could result in gaps, allowing enemy missiles to penetrate the formation and cause devastating losses. Silence during Testudo execution ensured that soldiers remained fully focused on officer signals and the rhythm of coordinated motion. Both visual awareness and auditory discipline maintained the formation's integrity and prevented the chaos that could lead to lethal disorganization. Many ancient cultures weaponized sound for psychological warfare and to motivate troops. The Greeks typically invoked their deities before battle, chanting divine names in unison to inspire courage and unsettle enemies. The Gauls, famous for their ferocity, used deafening roars and the clashing of weapons to intimidate opposing forces. They relied on noise to create fear and confusion, disrupting the composure of their adversaries even before combat began. Germanic tribes facing Rome developed their own powerful form of psychological warfare known as the baritus, a war chant that began as a low hum and grew into a thunderous roar. This escalating chant not only united the warriors emotionally but also instilled dread in their opponents. While the Romans prioritized silence, this did not mean they were unaware of the psychological effects of sound. Their pragmatic and adaptive nature meant that they incorporated effective elements from enemy tactics when strategically beneficial. A notable example of this occurred during Boudica's rebellion in 61 AD. When Queen Boudica's forces attacked Roman troops in Britannia, the British warriors used fierce war cries in an attempt to intimidate their disciplined opponents. The Romans, however, stood silently in formation, unmoved by the uproar. They held their silence until the Britons came within pilum or javelin range. At that exact moment, the Romans broke their silence with a sudden unified war cry, immediately followed by a devastating volley of javelins and a perfectly coordinated advance. This precise and controlled use of sound at the decisive instant stunned the British warriors and shattered their psychological momentum, demonstrating how the Romans could transform silence and noise alike into tools of warfare when properly timed and executed. By the 4th century AD, the Roman army had undergone considerable changes in its composition. Increasing numbers of recruits came from provincial and frontier regions, including former Germanic adversaries. These new soldiers brought with them their own martial customs and traditions, such as the Baratus chant, which gradually became integrated into the Roman military framework. Roman commanders, recognizing the potential advantages of such practices, allowed their use particularly among auxiliary formations. This careful adaptation showed the Roman army's unmatched flexibility and willingness to evolve, turning former enemy techniques into assets of the empire without undermining its core principles of discipline and order. Nevertheless, silence as a tactical doctrine remained one of the defining features of Roman warfare. It allowed the legions to act with precision, unity, and efficiency, transforming the battlefield into a space governed by control rather than chaos. This silent coordination, supported by clear signaling and unwavering discipline, helped Rome dominate vast territories for centuries, representing one of their most fundamental and enduring battlefield advantages.